After the Game Awards last night, I've been seeing a lot of people bring up the Mario Kart versus Sonic Racing CrossWorlds discussion yet again. And I mean, I completely understand why it would be coming up. This is a historical rivalry. The fact that there's even a discussion of Mario Kart World versus anything is a big deal. But it being Sonic specifically does spark the conversation up a little bit more. And I do think it's funny that the buzz generates a lot more discourse and things get louder after the Game Awards, which is an event that seemingly every single person always talks about how much it doesn't matter until their game that they love wins, in which case it starts to matter a lot more. And based off of the way the YouTube algorithm has been pushing different videos and the feed that I've been seeing for the past 24 hours, it looks like the Game Awards might actually matter more than most of us thought. Now, obviously, when it comes to Mario Kart World versus Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, personally, I've completely shifted over to the Sonic Racing side of things. I felt that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds was the true sequel that I've been waiting 11 years for after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and there are tons of people all around the world that agree with me. Now, to be very clear, my approach towards these racing games is very casual. Even with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I wouldn't say that I was like phenomenal at it or anything. I think even when I did a full analysis of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on my channel, most people that were watching my footage would comment about how like I was a casual player and they liked that. Like I wasn't competitive by any means. And it's because I've always viewed Mario Kart as a very casual game. And likewise, when I jump to Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, it's just the kart racer that I go to now when I'm looking for a quick race. Either something to play online with my friends just for a random Saturday night, or if people came over, that's just what I throw on the screen and we all play it. It's not going to be the game that's generating the most hours out of me. I'm not always going to be first place, but I'm always going to have fun with it. And I went through this in previous videos, but after trying out Mario Kart World, my sentiment is pretty much the same as the sentiment of most people online that don't like that game. The mechanics are alright, it's Mario Kart, the tracks kind of stink mainly because of the intermissions. Even with the updates, they didn't really fix it all that much. And obviously I don't own a Switch 2, so even if I wanted to play Mario Kart World, I wouldn't be playing it. But on my weekly game nights with my group of friends that we all used to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe quite a bit, we've all completely shifted over to Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. So even if there's a Switch 2 amongst us, and there's Mario Kart World amongst us, we tried it out for the first few weeks, we didn't really feel a big difference. We quickly shifted back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then when Sonic Racing came out, we've now completely converted to the point where we're no longer playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we're only playing Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. The game just left a very good impression on us in a way that Mario Kart World couldn't. Now, that being said, over the course of the past few months, I've seen people try to push a narrative that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds was failing for whatever reason. I'm assuming it's the Switch 2 fans trying to push back against the hate that Mario Kart World was rightfully getting, mostly because of Nintendo's greed, obviously, not even because of the game, but the fact that the game was the way it was didn't help its case. It was a very underwhelming Mario Kart title. It is a very underwhelming Mario Kart title. So of course, because of all the trolling and all of the laughing and finger pointing that Sonic fans were doing towards Nintendo and people that were saying, hey, this is much better than Mario Kart, Nintendo fans needed to come out and push some kind of narrative that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds wasn't doing too well, and pretty much the only concrete data that they could hang on to was Steam charts and how active the game was. Now, as somebody that's been pretty consistently playing Sonic Racing CrossWorlds for like an hour or two every few days, maybe even jumping on for like 30 or 40 minutes and doing a few races and getting off at night if it's like 11 p.m. or something. The first thing most people will notice while playing this game is that while it does show an emblem if you're playing on console or PC while you're racing, for the most part, most people that are playing this game are console racers. Like just based off of my experience, there's usually a PC logo next to my character, and then there are 2 or 3 other people that are playing on PC, and then almost everybody else is a console racer. Obviously, this fluctuates. And it completely makes sense. I mean, Sonic is historically not something that PC gamers are rallying behind. It's usually console gamers that enjoy this. So the Steam charts, they're not really an accurate depiction of how active this player base is. What I do know, and I can't speak for everybody else, is that I've never once jumped on this game and felt like it was missing players, felt like it took too long to find a big enough group to play with. I think I might have had like one failed race that disconnected somewhere in the 3rd lap or something, but for the most part, it's been a very smooth experience with always a full group of 12 people. I can't speak the same for Mario Kart, but I've heard that there's a lot of times where bots fill up the rooms. Many people have been complaining that they can't get the full roster of racers, but granted, that game has like, what, 25 people racing versus the 12, so even if they get half of that, that would be equal to Sonic, so I don't know how to gauge it if it's 1 for 1 necessarily. But I've never had any issues finding races, and it always seems to be full, and it always seems to fill up pretty quickly, and I can do multiple races whenever I want to play. As far as I'm concerned, it's an active game. I've never got on it and been like, oh, this game's dead, there's nobody playing it. The one complaint that I might have is they have these festivals every few weekends where you're required to do the team stuff. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but whenever that comes up, you can't really do the individual stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, I just pick it up and race the game how I want to race it anyway. Like I said, it's all very casual for me, so while I could see that would put other people off, it for me doesn't really matter that much. I'll just jump on, do a few team races, I'll get my full of Sonic racing that I wanted that night, and that's it, I'm good to go. But outside of that, nothing. I've enjoyed pretty much every single time I've picked up this game to play, and I've seen just full rooms of people that are ready to race all the time. Now, that being said, that's only one aspect of all of this. A lot of this will be repeated from some of my more recent videos where I was talking about sales numbers for different games, and I'll probably share a clip from that video as well. I'll bookmark it so those of you that watch that video will know to skip ahead. But the sales numbers for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds are out of this world when you look at it from the angle of a Sonic fan. You have to consider some very important things. This is, number one, the most expensive Sonic game that has released basically ever, I think. And in the first month, it reached 1 million sales despite that number. And not only that, there were people that were willing to pay not only the $70 price tag, which is already way too high, but they were willing to pay $90 to include the upgrade pack or the additional DLC, whatever they call the season pass. And it still hit 1 million units, which is phenomenal for a Sonic racing game. It's phenomenal for a Sonic game, quite frankly, not just a Sonic racing game. The fact that it's a racing game makes it even more impressive because this is a spin-off series that hasn't been good since Sega All-Star Racing transformed over a decade ago. So it already had the lowest of expectations. As soon as this game was announced, it was shrugged off, the same way Team Sonic Racing was shrugged off a few years ago when it came out around the same time as Crash Team Racing. And it's very similar to when that 2D game came out, Sonic Superstars. It released at the same time as Mario Wonder, so it put it as a direct comparison. People loved Mario Wonder, they didn't really feel the same way as Sonic Superstars. It made people shrug off Sonic Superstars because they're like, why would I even play this? I'm just gonna go buy Mario Wonder. In the same vein, the expectation for Sonic and Racing CrossWorlds was that it was going to be dead on arrival because everybody was just going to be playing Mario Kart. That's how it works. So with all of these odds stacked against it, it became a game that's extremely loved by so many kart racing fans, and specifically if you're a kart racing fan, you're probably a Mario Kart fan. And for a very large chunk of people in which the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World did not appeal to them for a laundry list of reasons, Sonic Racing CrossWorld completely filled that void. Very unexpectedly and very successfully. And it did this at the massive price point that it started at. And that's largely because they gave it the network test where people were allowed to try the game for free, and so many people picked it up and realized they loved this game enough to spend the $70 and the $90 on it. Now, once again, to reiterate a previous talking point that I've had, the launch price of every single video game, aside from first-party Nintendo titles, is not the price of the game. It's more like the price for the early adopters. Because for every single publisher and developer, when they release a game, once again, with the exception of Nintendo, the fans are well aware that if they just wait a few months, the game is going to be on discount. And if they wait even longer than that, they might be getting it for dirt cheap. This doesn't matter how well the game sells. This doesn't matter if it's popular or not. All that matters is that if you wait, it's going to be cheaper. So it makes it even more impressive that Sonic and Racing CrossWorlds was able to sell as much as it did early on, because most people that were buying it early on knew that the game price would eventually go down. And of course, during this holiday season, the price dropped immensely for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Discounts everywhere. And now there's a whole nother wave coming into this title, and it's almost like a completely second launch for it. And the numbers are not gonna lie. This is a game that's going to have a very lengthy and very healthy lifespan. And the best part is we're still getting new characters, new DLC, new tracks every few weeks. So there's a very clear path of the free updates and the paid DLC that's going to be coming up, allowing you to be rest assured that despite the fact that you spent so much money on this title, or if you bought it recently at a discount, it's going to be supported for a lot longer, because most of those upcoming DLCs have not even made it to the game yet. Mega Man's not even there yet. It's very exciting, and deservedly so. So rest assured, oh Sonic fan, if you were worried about Sonic Racing CrossWorld not doing that well, just understand that this is just a weird narrative being pushed out. It's not the case. The game is actually doing exceptionally well, and it continues along this excellent streak for the Sonic franchise that started around the 2020 when the first movie was coming out in Sonic Frontiers, and continued through Shadow Generations, which was amazing for so many of us. It was like going back to Sonic Adventure 2. Add on to that it released Sonic Generations for a whole new generation of people as well, so it was great. It's been good for Sonic fans, and it's still going to continue to be great for Sonic fans. Sonic Racing CrossWorld is continuing that trend. And I'm gonna close off this video by sharing the clip from my previous video where I analyzed the sales numbers specifically off of Amazon over the past 30 days. This isn't the full picture, but this is a piece of it to kind of give you an idea of just how well Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is actually doing at the moment. And it's been sitting pretty high on the Amazon bestseller charts over the course of the past month, which for major franchises is a low bar, but for a Sonic game, that's massive. Especially when you consider how many times the Sonic franchise almost completely just dissolved in the past couple of decades. Anyway, here's that clip. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much for listening. I will catch you on the next one. So what I'll do is I will pick a random game that is probably performing okay, maybe punching a bit above its weight, and we'll see how well that game is doing in comparison. Let's look at a game that everybody in the Nintendo world seems to be convinced is a failure. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds in the past month on the Nintendo Switch sold 40,000 units. Now, keep in mind, this is a game that reached 1 million already, so it already hit that initial launch demand, and was still hitting this 30 and 40,000 way back in September as well, mind you. It didn't take a price drop for it to sell this much. The price drop is just an added bonus of not being a Nintendo game. This is a mistake that many Nintendo fans make. They assume that when something goes on a discount and goes on sale, it means it's performing bad. That is only true for Nintendo, because they have conditioned people to believe that's the case. Which, like I said, is why when the Switch 2 had a discount earlier in December, it's a clear indication that it wasn't moving enough units, otherwise they never would have done that. But with Sonic, we saw a game hit 1 million, selling between $70 and $90. People were willing to spend that money knowing that there would be a discount before the end of the year, because that's what always happens with Sonic games. And this was launching as the most expensive Sonic game, and has performed very admirably, and this is without being a bundle. And specifically in a year where the most enthusiastic of kart racing fans had already bought Mario Kart World. But still, looking at the Black Friday numbers, this is well after its launch. It sold 40K just on the original Switch alone. And keep in mind, the physical version of the Nintendo Switch 2 is not yet purchasable. That's not coming out until next year. So what many Nintendo fans did was they went out and they bought this Switch 1 version, and they paid the $5 on the eShop to upgrade it into the Nintendo Switch 2 version. So this 40K is not just Switch 1 buyers, it's also Switch 2 buyers. These are Nintendo fans that can play Mario Kart that decided to buy Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. So it's 40K sold on Amazon in the past 30 days, and that's just on the Nintendo platform. The PS5 adds another 10,000 to the sales, and the PlayStation is a much more digital heavy console than the Nintendo consoles. So there's a very likely chance that that 10,000 plus you're seeing right there is actually 20 to 30,000 plus, if not 40,000. And likewise with the Xbox Series, which adds another 3,000. And again, that's a mostly digital platform, so that 3,000 is probably 10,000 plus. And again, this also does not include all of the Steam sales it's had, which are entirely digital and won't even show up on this chart. So even if you take Hyrule Warriors, you take Kirby, and you take Metroid, and you multiply them by 2, assuming that they're half digital, half physical sales for Nintendo, which is usually a very generous multiplication, because Nintendo is still mostly physical. If you apply the multipliers for those Nintendo games versus this Sonic game, which has already been out since September, so remember, it's not even selling more now than it did at launch. Or at the very least, it's probably on par with how it did at launch. But it's not currently getting its enthusiast bump, because it already got that. The Nintendo games that just launched in the past month are getting that enthusiast bump. And despite that, this underperforming game, by the words of the mouth of most Nintendo fans the way they viewed it, has been having a much better holiday than these 3 flagship launch titles for the Nintendo Switch 2. And even strictly looking at just the Nintendo Switch version of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, it's at least on par, if not slightly above the rest of them. And keep in mind, this is not strictly because the price is lower. Sonic games are always cheaper. Up until the launch of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, Sonic games have always been cheaper. And they've never done so well where you can put it head to head with flagship Nintendo titles. Like, I think Sonic Frontiers is just at around 5 million sold right now. But ultimately, the reason I'm putting things into perspective here is because I actually don't think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is doing that well comparison to a Nintendo game. It's doing amazing in comparison to a Sonic title. It's had a phenomenal launch for a spin-off of a Sonic title, a spin-off which has been struggling for a franchise that has been struggling. But even the best performing Sonic game usually doesn't look anywhere near close enough to be competing head-to-head with the best performing Nintendo titles, with the average B-tier Nintendo titles. Normally, the Sonic game is a spec. So I'm actually being very nice to Kirby and to Hyrule Warriors and to Metroid Prime 4 by even comparing the past 30 days of sales to Sonic. Now, keep in mind that Metroid and Kirby have not been out for 30 days yet, so those numbers could go up. But the Sonic numbers didn't start to increase until after Kirby launched, because that's when Sonic got its discount. And the Metroid numbers will increase, but they won't increase enough to overcome the Sonic numbers. Not when you consider all of the platforms that it's on. And to give you an idea to how well Sonic Racing is doing over the past month, its Switch number alone is doing as well as Bonanza did in the past 30 days during the holiday of the launch of the Switch 2, where this is a flagship title. It's actually selling better than the Switch 2 version of Pokemon Legends ZA. And if you consider all the platforms they're on, even if you add the Switch 1 version of Pokemon Legends ZA, it's probably done just about as well as that game has in the holidays so far. Now, here's the thing. I don't think these numbers should be as close as they are. I don't think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds should be in the same sentence as these titles for Nintendo. I don't even think I should be allowed to make this kind of comparison, but the reality is I can, and it's very obvious why.